Hello there. Over 1,000 people more than normal passed away the week before last. 1,000 people more than normal. Something terrible is going on, yet our media and politicians are silent on it. Here we go again. Another week and another report from the Office for National Statistics showing that the excess number of people passing away in the UK is still far higher than the rolling 5-year average. And not a peep from our politicians. They are now obviously being willfully blind to this persistent scandal. Why are they not demanding a report from the Health Secretary, a debate in the House, and an investigation? Well, they're not. In fact, they are studiously ignoring the situation. They are more intent on playing internal politics and making ludicrous net zero spending pledges. These people passing away are just a bunch of excess coincidences to them. How much more of them are they willing to tolerate? Now, in the week ending the 2nd of June, that's week 22 of the year, the number of people recorded as passing away in the UK was 10,155, and this was 11.3% or 1,034 more than the rolling 5-year average. And as I've said before, inflation at these sorts of levels sparks furious political debate and finger-pointing, either at the Tories, the Bank of England, or both, with Labour leading the charge. But with actual real people passing away, not a murmur. And I can say with a pretty good idea of the truthfulness of it, that if Labour could hang these excesses on the cost of living crisis or poverty hook, they'd be straight in there like a rat up a drainpipe. Now, in England and Wales, the ONS says that the excess rate was 12.3%. But here comes a figure that should shock. The ONS reported that the excess number of people passing away in private homes in England and Wales was 20.7% above the 5-year average. 20.7%. And no one in the political establishment is concerned about that. In hospitals, it was 12.3% above, and in care homes, 3% above. And no one is questioning any of this. Well, apart from a couple of notable people who've been sidelined, ignored, ridiculed, and branded as conspiracy theorists for bringing it up. And MPs do exactly that in the House of Commons by catcalling when Andrew Bridgen points out real facts to them. How can it possibly be a conspiracy theory to point out facts from the government's own Office for National Statistics? Facts and figures that are collated and published for the express purpose of showing trends and alerting politicians and the people of potential problems. So as far as I'm concerned, the only conspiracy here is a conspiracy of silence within our political class. And they have no intention of answering any questions about it from the grubby little public, their voters. Now, these high percentages of 12.3% and 20.7% are high figures. We know that because the government won't hand out similar percentage rises to public sector workers, will they? So how can they ignore this, or somehow claim they're not aware of these excess figures, when it's blindingly obvious something is definitely amiss? You'd almost think they have something to hide, wouldn't you? And it is a Westminster blob-wide thing, because none of the opposition parties are laying into the Tory government about it either. And reprehensibly, just about no one in our so-called independent mass media is saying anything about it either. They really are together in this conspiracy of silence, aren't they? But it's not just the United Kingdom. As Dr. John Campbell said in his video on Sunday, this is an international phenomenon. Other countries experiencing this include New Zealand, South Korea, Hong Kong, Canada, Australia, Germany, the Netherlands, the USA, France, and Denmark. And as Dr. Campbell says, their excess figures are all well above what would be considered as the normal line. What we, the people, need to know is why are there no governments or related international bodies demanding answers? Why are they not all over this like a rash? Yet another reason for the UK people to be very wary about signing up to any international agreement that would tie us into a global response to a health emergency. Or, as in this case, no response. Think about the repercussions of being held back when action should be taken. 2 years ago, the global establishment was all over us, spending billions, if not trillions, of our money while exceeding many legal norms. But now, today, in the face of this, all we get is a cavernous silence of inactivity. And anyone attempting to insert any noise into it is ruthlessly cancelled. Now, according to Dr. Campbell, using the numbers from ourworldindata.org, the excess figures in Australia have been well above 10% since the start of 2022, with Canada looking much the same, if not worse. And no one there is asking any questions. And New Zealand has some horrific stats too. And we know who was in charge there, don't we? How can our political masters morph so quickly from an overbearingly zealous, caring attitude towards what can only be described as either a cold indifference or worse, an active desire to do harm? And on this matter, the whole establishment, from Buckhouse to Westminster to Whitehall, the Commons, the Lords, the civil service, corporates, and the medical profession, all appear to be unwilling or unable to even give us a passing comment on this. Why? What is going on? We have MPs rightly commenting on today's events, so why not these excess numbers from the Office for National Statistics? Especially as it is definitely not just a domestic problem here in the UK. This is a global problem, and the excesses show no signs of abating. What are we, the public, meant to make of the fact that those we elect and those we pay to look into these matters are what can only be described as looking the other way? Will just a few people, like Dr. Campbell, still be talking about these numbers in another 6 months, with no response from the blancmange-like Westminster blob? This whole thing does not pass the sniff test in any way at all. In fact, it reeks to high heaven.